local member.
Senator Singh.
I rise tonight to speak of the ravaging fires we've experienced in Tasmania across the past month and their threat to our floral natural heritage and biodiversity in some of my home state's most ancient alpine regions. The fires have burnt out over 72,000 hectares in Western Tasmania, 11,000 hectares in our Tasmanian Wilderness World Heritage Area. These fires have been particularly damaging, leaving a destruction of our unique rainforest and alpine vegetation in their wake. The ecological and cultural significance of these areas has irreplaceable value. These fragile plant species which give our World Heritage Area its stunning landscape are in such a vulnerable state. The unique climate and soil composition has been altered by these fires, peat soil which takes thousands of years to form. The area is dominated by plants that had lasted in Tasmania since its Cretaceous period and do not regenerate in the same fashion as our eucalypts. These centuries-old forests have stunning kingbilly pines and buttongrass plains that now in some areas lie blackened in the landscape. The work of the Tasmanian Fire Service has been formidable, tirelessly working in extreme conditions to contain the destruction of these fires. Tasmania has a first-class integrated fire management and firefighting operation where comprehensive vegetation mapping occurs, which enables crews to minimise the impact of the fires. But once these ancient forests are gone, they do not readily be replaced by some. It's not easily to replace some trees that are over 100 years old. And as Dr Jamie Kirkpatrick, the Professor of Geography and Environmental Studies at the University of Tasmania, has stated, it is easy to rapidly rebuild houses and bridges. It is impossible to rebuild the Huon pine and kingbilly pine forests that make Tasmania so special and attract people from all over the world to admire their beauty. We need to ensure there are sufficient resources to protect both people and our ancient heritage. Yet government policies are failing Tasmania by ignoring the leading and overriding threat to these forests, and that is climate change. Tasmania has had increasingly warmer spring and summers, with December 2015 breaking records. 14 of the world's 15 hottest years have occurred since 2000. A long-term drying trend has been aggravated by a reduction in rainfall. Ultimately, this has meant our forests have become a tinderbox. The Climate Council's Professor Will Steffen has stated that the influence of climate change has increased the risk of extreme fires in Tasmania. He said, "We are watching centuries-old ancient forests being destroyed because we failed to act early enough on climate change." I don't want my concerns for Tasmania's Wilderness World Heritage Area to be a message to visitors to not come to Tasmania to see our beautiful precious forests. Much of the Wilderness World Heritage Area has luckily not been affected, but the fact that 11,000 hectares has been burnt significantly impacts on lost species that are of extreme value to this area. This is our history. This is our heritage that has gone up in flames. I note that Senator Whish-Wilson has called, in the media at least, for an independent inquiry into the methods of tackling such fires in an area of climate change. Such an inquiry does have merit, and I too think that there should be such an inquiry in how we do look at the methods we use for tackling such fires in this era of climate change. But despite all of these warnings, despite all of the work and all of the warnings by scientists of the need to act early on climate change, Minister Greg Hunt has signed Australia up to some of the lowest and weakest emissions reduction targets in the developed world. He's already aided and abetted attacks on the renewable and wind and solar sectors, threatening the jobs of clean energy of the future, and tried to delist Tasmania's Wilderness World Heritage Area at the UNESCO level. The Environment Minister could do with an opportunity to actually assert some environmental credibility, and here it is. Heed the significance of these fires. Our future, our world's future and our heritage is at stake.
Senator Dastyari.